Hello, everybody, and welcome into Blue Jays Today, where you boys always have something to say about the Toronto Blue Jays. I'm your host, Nicholas Playlog.
And I'm your host, Adam Peddle, and today, guys, are the Toronto Blue Jays potentially trading Bo Bichette? Jeff Passan came out with an article talking about how the Blue Jays might consider trading Bo Bichette if they're sellers at the deadline. We're going to break it down and discuss whether we agree with him or disagree with him. Before we get into it, hit that like button and subscribe to Blue Jays Today. It is trade season. The rumors are coming out.
Yep.
We're 2 months away from the deadline, and we still don't know what this Blue Jays team is. So we'll talk about that first, I guess, to begin it off. Because he did mention in the article, he had a bunch of categories, and he put the Blue Jays in the unloaders category, 3 games above 500.
Let's flash over there right now, guys, and take a look at what he is saying about the Toronto Blue Jays. As Adam said, unloader, whatever that really means.
Sellers.
And he does give us a good objective. Be more like 2022 and 2023 than 2024, which makes a lot of sense, all right? We made playoffs those years. We obviously did not in 2024. However, he goes on to talk about how, we're kind of in the middle right now. It's a tough American league, everything like that. And ultimately, if the Toronto Blue Jays were to be sellers, minor voice crack there, but if the Toronto Blue Jays were going to be sellers, Bo Bichette in this market right now, it is a seller's market, and he would be a huge piece.
Yeah, there isn't a lot of great pieces available right now. I think simply because there isn't really a clear seller right now, other than, the Rockies and the Orioles and the clear guys down there. But there are a lot of teams still competing. So if the Blue Jays did end up in the sell category, Bo Bichette would be that. Now, what would it take for the Blue Jays? That's what I want to get to next. What would it take for the Blue Jays to become sellers? Because we've had a lot of conversations this whole year about them trying to compete this year. What would it take for them to be sellers this deadline?
Well, I'll tell you what. I see the third tab. You got the MLB playoff odds right there. It all comes from this. Like, seriously, it all comes from this. If the Toronto Blue Jays playoff odds look a lot more similar to where Boston is right now, at about 14, 15%, that's where I think that you're going to see us, like around that 20% area, it starts to become, okay, this is, 4 to 5 times, it's not going to work. Yeah. Like, maybe we do need to sell off some pieces. But honestly, anything above that, I think that they're going to go for it. Yeah. I think that you got Ross and you got Mark, who are kind of on the last leg right now. Mark Shapiro's contract is quite literally coming up after this year. So, he's looking to hopefully get his big time, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. extension.
Right.
If there is a better than 1 in 5 chance, whatever that may be, the record-wise, like, because obviously it would depend on the remainder of the AL and everything like that. But if there's a better than 1 in 5 chance that the Toronto Blue Jays can make playoffs in about a month from now, I don't think we're going to sell. I think that we're going to buy.
Yeah, you kind of need to force the issue, especially in a weak American League right now. You kind of need to make it happen. And also, too, you got to factor in by trading Bo Bichette, if we'll transitioning a little bit right here, to Bo Bichette, like if you're going to actually trade this guy at the deadline, you're kind of cutting off the opportunity to get him back. Bo Bichette's a very straightforward guy. He's mentioned he wants to play with his friends. He wants to play on a team his entire career. He's made that very clear. People might read into that and go, he's just saying that, but we've heard from Keegan Matheson, that's exactly who Bo Bichette is. He'll say it and call it how it is. So if he wants to make that happen, you trading away might hinder that opportunity down the line.
Maybe, maybe not. I'll push back just slightly on that. I guess I would say that I wouldn't not be okay with trading him because of that reason. It's ultimately he's going to be hitting free agency anyways. He will be flirting with other teams once he gets there. It's free agency. Anything can happen in free agency. It's I wouldn't, if I'm the Toronto Blue Jays, ultimately, if it's the difference from getting some top tier prospects or having the potential chance of maybe getting Bo back, which you'd still have when he goes to free agency, I would trade him.
Right, but trading him would not help that situation.
No, of course. It definitely wouldn't aid in that process for certain. Now, one thing that somebody brought up to us actually yesterday was Scott from the Walk-Off Podcast. Shout out to Scott from the Walk-Off Podcast. He was bringing up the idea, it's is there a reality where you could trade Bo Bichette? And this is very hypothetical. Is there a reality where you could trade Bo Bichette but actually still be buying. And I said this last year when we were selling. I was like, I think there's a reality, and that was back then when Bo wasn't playing good, but there was a reality where, oh, we could have traded Bo and kind of bought and still tried to go after it. What are your thoughts on that this year?
Yeah, I mean, like the hypothetical situation is you would you trade Bo Bichette for some starting pitching, which is obviously the weakest part of this Blue Jays team. And there probably will be a team out there who's got a surplus of starters that you could trade Bo Bichette, get back a quality, maybe top 1, 2, 3 starter that has like half a year of their contract left, just like Bo Bichette. You probably could.
Seattle or something, you know what I mean?
You probably could.
It out there.
It's a possibility. Again, I think the factors of like the Blue Jays and their relationship with Bo Bichette might kind of play into that, where they might go, let's just hang with our guy and make that happen. But on paper, it makes sense. I just don't know if it's going to happen.
See, for me, it on paper only makes sense if Anthony Santander is popping off. Because, I mean, going over and looking at this Toronto Blue Jays roster, this Toronto Blue Jays team, you know, Bo Bichette is obviously a massive part of that.
Massive.
He leads the team in RBIs. I never would have thought that was the case. The guy's been leading off pretty much the entire season. He leads the team in RBIs. So, like, this is somebody that is producing right now. So, losing Bo Bichette, like, I understand, you know, the kind of mechanics that we're going through. It's like, oh, well, we could trade him for starting pitching or whatever.
Very video game-esque.
Yeah, it feels like if Bo Bichette goes, more times than not, that means that we're out. Like, we're out on the season. Sure, there could be potentially reality where you could kind of finagle it some way to still be kind of buying. But if you're trading Bo, that is ultimately the 2025 season, or at least the way that I'm looking at it right now.
Like I almost see that there's sellers, like there's a range of results where the Blue Jays will be sellers, and that's around that 14% that you're talking about. And then I think there's like, okay, then there's another tier below that where we're selling Bo Bichette, where, you know, they'll fringe sell, kind of like what they did last year if they're like 5 games below 500. I think if they're really out of it, then you start to really entertain, well, let's just like really scrape it down and start fresh for the next season.
Sure, yeah, and again, like, this is all depending on where they are in about a month from now, because, you know, as we're making this podcast today, they're 3 games above 500.
That's right.
And they are very much in the mix of all of this, right? Yeah, the run differential is -9, but they're 32 and they're 29 right now. They are a couple games out from that wild card spot. One good series, and they're in a playoff spot. And I mean, I know that Jeff Passan, and he is the GOAT baseball insider, he's labeled us as the unloaders. If in a month from now, we are a game out of the wild card or in the wild card, like, people are going to be unloading to us because we are going to be buying. We're going to be unloading our prospects. And honestly, I think that is so much more likely than Bo getting traded, than, you know, us selling Bassett. And it all comes back to the fact that Ross and Mark, this is their last leg. This is their last chance to prove to everybody that they are the guys. They need to make playoffs.
Hey guys, time for a quick shout out to the sponsor of this video. Hit your picks and knock it out of the park with Betway. Scan the QR code down below or click the link in the description to join the action. Available in Ontario only. Must be 19 years older to participate. And guys, please bet responsibly. Now, back to the content. Right, and even to Passan's credit, he does say right off the top, the Blue Jays could just simply end up being hold because of the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. contract. I mean, Ross and Mark have a plan right here. They want to continue to be the general manager and the president of the Toronto Blue Jays. They're setting themselves up to, we have to stay in this all the time, even if we are right around that 500 mark, because we gave Vladdy his money, and let's maybe not trade away his best buddy in the meantime.
Yes. You know? Now, I will say, and we're going to have a video coming out about this soon, there could be a pivotal player on the 26-man roster that they could trade and still be buying in, but I'm just going to leave you guys with that, everybody. Yeah, exactly. So
what's
tune
it gonna
in.
Be?
We'll talk about that later. But folks, let us know your thoughts about all this in the comments down below. Please hit that like button, smash that subscribe button. $4 a month to become a YouTube member. And thank you to all of our current YouTube members. You guys are amazing.
Guys, thank you so much for watching.
And as always,
go Jays, go!